What's up, guys? Micah here to talk about my Bastion deck profile. Yeah, this is actually not the same exact list that I was playing whenever I played against Noman, but it is a similar list, and there's only two changes that I'll talk about when I go over the cards I do run now. So, first, let's go over the Rideline. Yeah, basic Rideline. Basically the same thing for every Bastion deck. The only difference you want to possibly make is to change out the grade 0 for the other grade 0 from the Hexa Orb Rideline. That's it. They have the same skill, so it doesn't even matter which one of those you run. But yeah, Bastion is Bastion, and he's gonna Bastion all over the place. Now, it's really important that you Persona Ride in this deck, so I run 3 more copies of Bastion. Persona Riding makes this deck really, really powerful. It makes you able to swing for better numbers. It helps you draw into better pieces. It helps you draw into your, the next card we'll be talking about actually. And Bastion's first skill doesn't really change all that much. He gives plus 2k to every single grade 3 on your field, which is fine. Gives you 4k to each column, not really changing numbers, but maybe there's something coming up that we will be able to utilize that skill. But right now, it's just kind of a nice little bonus swinger for 30k if you've got 2 grade 3s in the same column and no power buffs. The second skill is really why you play this guy. If you drive check a grade 3, at the end of that battle, you can discard a card, restand something, a rear guard, of course, not your Vanguard, and give it plus 10k. And it is super strong on this rear guard named lden. Now, this guy's insane. What lden does is he generates advantage because whenever you use his first skill, which is when he's placed, you can counterblast 2, soul blast 1, call a card from hand. If you call the grade 3, then you can draw 2 cards. What you're basically doing is getting 2 cards onto the field for free because you're drawing 2 other pieces. Now, you could draw 2 other pieces that you need as well, so it's a good deck filter comboed with replenishing your hand for even calling units. His second skill is that if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, he gets plus 5k on attack. Now that's till the end of turn, so he actually generates this twice when you use Bastion's second skill to restand him. So you can end up getting plus 10k from his skill, plus 10k from Bastion's skill, and also other power buffs that may be happening, like Bastion's measly plus 2k. Next, I run discount lden at 2 copies because this card is, well, it helps you draw into pieces. That's really why you run it. Counterblast 2, draw 2 cards, and choose a unit. It gets plus 5,000 power till the end of turn. Nothing fancy, just kind of helps you draw into more pieces, hopefully into your Aldens if you didn't draw them. If you did draw Alden, and you have that in hand as well, you'll tend to discard it for Ride or for Bastion's skill. Next, we got 4 copies of Facado. This guy is an Alden enabler. It's also on hit pressure for your opponent because they know that if they let this thing hit, all you got to do is take 1 more damage and you can use an Alden next turn. So Facado is honestly really scary. On top of that, it can't be removed due to its continuous skill where it can't be chosen by your opponent's card effects. The only thing so far that can remove it is Barrow Magnus's skill and a Keter Sanctuary order that spins a column. By choosing something else in the same column as him, it can actually affect him. But he's very rarely going to get removed via card effect. Most often your opponent's either going to have to swing into him, which feels bad because he's not really doing that much other than fueling your Aldens. And they would much rather go after Alden. Or they just leave him on the board to constantly swing and generate on hit pressure and or resources via the countercharge soul charge if he hits. So Facado, in my opinion, is pretty good. Next, I run 4 copies of Kokobile. Now, this is one of the cards that I'd actually cut down to 3 because I didn't feel like the shield was valuable enough in Bastion at first. Now, I play against my wife most often, and she plays Magnolia and Zorga and Prison. This card isn't a rear guard. Playing against Prison, it's really hard, unless you only get your Facados, to generate any kind of attacks if you're not being super aggressive, and I felt like maybe if I can remove some of her stuff, then I help mitigate how much I have to deal with the buffs that Prison gets from having my units in the prison. But the thing is, this thing gives you shield. And I got to play against Noman, as you guys saw, and I got clapped because I was just a few increments of shield off. So I took out the control order, I put in 1 extra kokobile, and I put in 1 Hopeful Testode to try to help generate shield, because Bastion has to take a lot of damage early game. You have mostly grade 3s in your hand, and these things will help mitigate how much damage you take late game. The 15k shield on Testode and the amount of shield that you can generate with kokobile are really important when you get into the late game, especially with like Bruce swings, Nirvana swings, all those kinds of things. Next, I've got 4 copies of Refluke. Refluke is a ton of fun. He's an awesome card. Once he's on rearguard circle, you can actually go ahead, and it's an act skill, so you can call other things and get prepped for him. You can put him in a soul, choose one of grade 3 rearguards, and give it plus 10k. This thing's great with Bastion skill and lden because you end up getting like plus 30k for the turn. If you use Alden's skill, then Bastion's skill, and Refluke's skill, and all these things, then you end up getting like tons of power, and you're swinging at him twice with a bunch of that power. So it's a really strong card. It's also a soul system that helps you use your Aldens more often, and also fuels this next card, Dark Strain Dragon. This guy gives you grade 3's boost, and he's pretty good. I usually end up pitching the first one I see for ride deck, but if I see him later, I usually call one to the field so that I can give my grade 3's boost. You really don't need more than one of these things on the field unless you're really going for a push turn to try to get that extra 15k boost off of him. Otherwise, just call one to the board, Soul Blast 2, and give other things boost. Next, I run all these grade 1s, which is just the PG, honestly. Booster set 1 PGs are awesome because you can sometimes not discard, especially if you're running a little bit behind, and you can have some miracle turns, which is always exciting in Vanguard. You know, Vanguard's super exciting with triggers and with some of the miracle turns that can happen. So yeah, booster set 1 PGs are OP. If you're paying for Alden, might as well pay for booster set 1 PGs as well. Next, I do run the Keter Overtrigger. It is, in my opinion, the most broken Overtrigger in the game. Generates advantage, generates pressure, just basically does everything in Bastion that you want an Overtrigger to do. The only thing that would make it stronger is if it gave power to the rear guards, besides the plus 100 million power. And honestly, that would just be even more broken. But yeah, this thing's insane. Use it in Bastion, definitely. Then I run 8 crits, 3 fronts, excuse me, and 4 heals. Crits are really strong in Bastion because you're swinging so much with so much pressure that if you check a crit, it just makes it real scary for your opponent. So you're either checking crits and dealing extra damage, or you're checking grade 3s, you're using Bastion's skill and getting another swing and getting cards out of your opponent's hand. This deck is honestly really strong. The little modification of adding a little bit more shield has helped a lot, I've found. So yeah, definitely don't neglect shield. Don't be me, okay? Don't neglect shield, and definitely make sure that you have enough to survive in the late game, because Bastion needs defense. But he generates enough offense on his own, so definitely have some shield there with kokobile and the Hopeful Testode. Set 2, I don't really see much changing for this guy. I'm going to try running that double R, that like Counterblast, Soul Blast, you know, draw a card. If you percent a road, gain plus 5k and a crit. I'll probably run like 1 or 2 of them, maybe. Just because it's real fun and funny to think about, you know, swinging with that thing, then swing with, you know, 5k and a crit, so it'd be 20k minimum. If you Persona Road, it'd be 30k minimum with a crit. And then you swing with Bastion, you check your grade 3, you restand that thing, you're getting extra crit pressure for the Counterblast, Soul Blast. But you definitely don't want to see it early because the draw card is just a weaker Alden, in my opinion. So yeah, hope you enjoyed my deck profile of Bastion. Hope you check out my other videos as well. The games where I played Nomen, a couple more games are coming up. And I'm going to do a couple more deck profiles on the things that I'm playing right now, how it's going to change in set 2. I'll try to cover what changes in set 2. This is all post-Festival Collection right now, because some of the decks will change. Most of the decks change. The only one that doesn't really is Bastion right here. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Really appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.